What's the Church of Scientology so afraid of?
This is SPTV.
Welcome back, everybody, for more SPTV. I'm joined today by my friend and guest, Jeffrey Augustine. How's it going, Jeffrey?
Good. How about you, Aaron? Doing great.
Good. Let me just show everyone real quick. Back for more, Shelly Miscavige.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you're watching this channel now and you're not yet subscribed to the Scientology Money Project YouTube channel, highly recommend it. That is Jeff's channel where he publishes videos about his investigative reporting into all things Scientology. And then, of course, there is the blog, the Scientology Money Project. So what I like doing is doing videos about Jeff's blog posts. No, what I love is you do a blog post, you do a video about your blog post, then I do a video about your video, then we do a video together about your video.
I tell you, Aaron, we have a machine. SPTV is a machine, blogs, videos, everything, tweets. We have a machine.
Exactly.
And, pretty incredible.
So you've put together a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to use to help our conversation today. Is that relevant? You want me to pull that up right now, or is there anything we need to discuss before we pull it up?
Well, let's do it. Let's just introduce what the show's about today. We're doing more Shelly Miscavige because we had some comments, and I thought it would be good to elaborate on what we did yesterday.
Okay, great. And so, let me just pull up real quick. Yesterday, we did a live stream, the title of which was Big Problems with LAPD's Shelly Miscavige Report. And I will link to that video in the description down below for anyone who wants to watch it later. But go ahead.
And I'll post the PowerPoint on my blog as well.
Great. So do you want me to bring up the PowerPoint now?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me bring it up. Okay,
looking at
so we've got this bad boy, and
well, we're gonna go to the top one first.
Let me see.
Slide number 1.
Oh yeah, there we are.
Okay, so this is the California missing persons.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yes, I can. And what I want to just establish for the audience, this is from the Attorney General Rob Bonta, and it's basically discussing missing persons in California. Now, so this is just to establish the sources, our state attorney general, Mr. Bonta. If you go to this, slide number 2, and what I wanted you to know, just so if you could read this, and I think it's worth reading, this is what, when Shelly Miscavige was reported as a missing person by Leah Remini, this is how the law in California works. So if you could read that.
It says in California, a missing person is someone whose whereabouts is unknown to the reporting party. This includes any child who may have run away, been taken involuntarily, or may be in need of assistance. It includes a child illegally taken, held, or hidden by a parent or non-parent family member. There is no waiting period for reporting a person missing. All California police and sheriff's departments must accept any report, including a report by telephone of a missing person, including runaways, without delay, and will give priority to the handling of the report. Okay,
so now that I wanted to just establish California law, that the definition of a missing person is someone whose whereabouts is unknown to the reporting party. Therefore, Leah Remini did not know the whereabouts of Shelly Miscavige. So it's perfectly legal in the state of California for her to file a report. There's no waiting period. So that's the legal basis for filing a report. There is nothing amiss about filing a missing persons report. It's perfectly legal. That's the minimum threshold. I don't know the whereabouts of this person. It doesn't specify family, company, or anything else. That's it. So that's the threshold. And it says all California police and sheriff's departments must accept any report, including a report by telephone of a missing person. So police agencies out here in California are obligated to accept the report of a missing person. Now, what we were discussing yesterday was that the LAPD met with Shelly Miscavige and her lawyer, Jeff Riffer, at a coffee shop in California, and fingerprints were taken. Now, Aaron, here's what I want to say, if you want to take the PowerPoint down for a minute so we can talk. Okay, now, here's what I wanted to say. There were 2 detectives that met with Jeff Riffer, Miscavige's attorney, and Shelly, correct?
Correct.
So we know that. Now, since then, Lieutenant Andre Dawson, one of the investigators, has passed away. He retired and he passed away, I think, 2 years ago. So here's my question. If this went to a court of law and we put the remaining detective who investigated Shelly Miscavige as a missing person, and there's lawyers in the audience, I'm not an attorney, so this is a question for lawyers, but I think this would be the case, Aaron. If we were to put him on the stand and say, you met with a woman who said she was Shelly Miscavige. However, because you botched the fingerprints, you were not able to get 100% verification that this was Shelly based on fingerprints. Is it possible, Detective Smith, that the woman you met was not Shelly Miscavige? How would the detective answer that?
Yeah, how would he know for sure?
Well, he would have to say in court, yes, it's possible that that was not Shelly Miscavige, because he did not get, the detectives failed to get fingerprint verification. And as we discussed yesterday, I said that it appeared that they used the old ink style. So if you want to, the old ink, so if you want to bring it back, the slide deck back up, this gets right into it. Yeah. I'm going to show you the technology. So we go to the next slide, number 3.
This is number 3 right here.
Okay, is this from the Electronic Frontier Foundation?
Yep, and it says mobile fingerprinting. Do you want me to read it?
Please read it. This is so important for the audience.
LASD, and by the way, what does that mean? LA Sheriff's Department?
Yeah, but it includes LAPD for this study.
Okay. LASD did not provide up-to-date information for its use of mobile fingerprinting devices, but records provided to Muckrock and the Electronic Frontier Foundation show the agency had at least 2,500 blue check portable Bluetooth fingerprint scanners as of 2010. And we know that this Shelly Miscavige meeting occurred in 2013, right?
Sure, yeah.
At the time, LASD's fingerprint database included more than 10 million 10 prints, which is full fingerprint sets, over 1.5 million palm prints, and 175,000 latent prints. In 2010, LASD reported that the system had an accuracy rate of 95% for 2-finger queries and 99.95% for 4-finger queries. Okay.
Now, that's important. Look at the accuracy rate. You get 4 fingers, you have a 99.9% accuracy rate.
Yeah.
On a Bluetooth forensic reader. If you go to the next slide, please. Now, LAPD is using the same technology. This is the Cogent Thales Blue Check Bluetooth field fingerprinting device. This has a 99.95% accuracy rate from the field. It's digital, it's Bluetooth. So you can see this high rate of accuracy. So what the LAPD had was this technology that would allow them to have 99.9% accuracy to verify that that was Shelly Miscavige from the coffee shop in Covina, California. That's how good this equipment is. If you go to the next slide, number 4, this is, again, I'll post this on my blog, and this is the actual sales literature. So you can see how good this device is, Aaron. This is such that the technology is so good. And the reason there's a huge demand when law enforcement is out in the field, you can actually pull someone over who's a suspect and you can run their fingerprint digitally. And you can see if they have any wants or warrants or anything associated with fingerprints. So you're going to check them for wants or warrants. You could run their fingerprint. So this is, I just want to emphasize that this technology existed in 2013. And based on Yashar's reporting, it appears that if you go to slide number 4, I'm sorry, the next slide, it appears that the detectives, and LAPD is certainly free to correct me because, as my friend Shorpy says, I reserve the right to be wrong. But it appears from Yashar Ali's report that they took these type of fingerprints from a fingerprinting kit. This is an old style 1980s fingerprinting kit. And we're supposed to believe that they took fingerprints like this at the restaurant, at the coffee shop, and they took them all the way back to LAPD to be investigated. There's something to me, Aaron, like I said, when we were talking on the phone, let's say it's 2023 right now, and I want to send you some documents. I say, and we're skeezy, and I say, hey, Aaron, I'm going to fax you these documents. You would say, what? Fax me documents? What? I go, yeah, I'm going to fax you documents. Now, and you could say, well, I didn't get the fax, that the documents, I forgot to put in whatever. The fax documents didn't come out right. They were illegible. All the fine print in the sales contract was illegible on the fax. My point is, if you go to old technology, you can throw off the investigation. So what we have to know from the LAPD is, what did they use? It appears that they used the old ink things. And you can see the awfulness if you go to slide number 7. This is the old standard, and this I think really.
Oh, sorry, I'm not showing it.
Business.
My fault. Oh my God, what am I doing? I'm all over the place here. Okay, here we go. All right, go ahead. Can you see it, Jeff?
Okay. Yes, now I can see it. If you go to the next slide.
Oh, even this. Okay, this one.
Well, yeah, but hold here, Aaron. Look at all those black fingerprints.
Yeah.
So, okay, now, you got to go up above 1. Go up 1. Yeah. Now, this is the old 1980s FBI thing. You can see how kludgy, how error prone it is to fingerprint using ink.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the old FBI old days where you had loops, whorls, and arches, and there's a way to fingerprint and roll it. But if you look on the right-hand side of the audience looks, you can see how much room there is for error to get fingerprints wrong. Look, if you look in the second row of fingerprints in that exhibit, you can see how dark that last fingerprint is.
Yeah.
Well, the reason digital fingerprinting technology was invented and adopted in the 1990s was to get rid of all these possibilities of mistakes. You can see in the blue, the FBI's thing, how everything can go wrong and how you had to get a fingerprint properly so it could be read or identified. Right. So the big revolution in law enforcement and fingerprinting technology was glass, using a glass platen to get in digital sensors to get a fingerprint where there's no error. The same thing happened by analogy in medical imaging technology, how digital x-rays are so much better than the old-fashioned film x-rays. So if the LAPD detectives did this in the field, then that was my argument. That's why they couldn't get conclusive fingerprints.
Right.
And they had the digital technology. They were LAPD detectives, top forensics labs. So now if you go down to the next slide, as compared to a computer in digital fingerprinting, which has a high degree of accuracy, if you go to slide number 8, please. Okay, now
this one's 8. Can you see it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Now that's the old 1980s technology where a fingerprint examiner has to look under, Zeiss loops, optical loops, and he or she has to take these little pens, for lack of a better word, and go point to point, ridge to ridge. And this is very time consuming, where a digital fingerprint reader is instantaneous, basically, because it's computerized and you can do it from the field. So if the detectives are corrupt, and that's my allegation, then they threw the investigation by putting in old technology. Because if you force it into a manual examination from fingerprint cards, you're just throwing the game. You're throwing the investigation. You don't want it to go. Conversely, if they were merely incompetent and did not know how to correctly field ID using the old ink style fingerprints, then they should have went back and got a second set of fingerprints. And that's why my point is, Aaron, in a court of law, the detective, I think, would have to say, we didn't get 100%, we didn't get fingerprint identification. Therefore, I can't say with 100% accuracy or certainty that that woman was indeed Shelly Miscavige. I can't say for certain, because the question a lawyer would ask is, Detective Smith, prior to your meeting with the person alleged to be Shelly Miscavige, had you ever met her? No. So you didn't know what she looked like and you didn't know what she sounded like. Correct. Okay. You had her driver's license picture. Yes. Now that was 3 years earlier. So Aaron, it's very possible Scientology could have gotten someone, a private investigator, someone else who looked like Shelly.
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you, if you go online and you check Tom Cruise's stunt double, it's an amazing likeness.
Let me ask you this.
Very easy to get someone to, yeah.
I've been contacted by a bunch of people who, former law enforcement, who have said, it's weird that the LAPD has mishandled the fingerprint situation, but that there's no requirement to do fingerprints on something like a welfare check. What are your thoughts on why they were even done? Because I kind of go, if you're going to do them correctly or not do them at all. What do you think is going on here?
Well, that's a curious thing because, you don't have to give fingerprints. What I mentioned in yesterday's show is that when L. Ron Hubbard Jr. Sued Mary Sue Hubbard to get control of L. Ron Hubbard's estate, L. Ron Hubbard produced fingerprints. Mm-hmm. And that went to the court, and that was sufficient to show that L. Ron Hubbard stated that I wanted to live in seclusion. I'm a perfect sound mind and body. Here are my fingerprints. It's me. And he even wrote in the letter, I trust David Miscavige with my affairs. He's not cheating me. That is such an interesting letter. And this would be a great video for another time of when L. Ron Hubbard Jr. sued his father to get control of the estate unless she was dead or incapacitated. Mm-hmm. So Scientology has an axiom, and you'll know this very well. Repeat the successful action. And
sure.
When Leah reported Shelly as a missing person, that made international news. Where's Shelly? And I think, and I want to get your opinion on this because you were Sea Org. I think it was repeating the successful action, since we beat off the challenge to L. Ron Hubbard by using his fingerprints. Let's do the same with Shelly. We'll show that we're fully cooperating with law enforcement by producing fingerprints. That's what I think happened. It was someone's bright idea to get Shelly's fingerprints.
It's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. What confuses me is that it seems like the police officers would have been totally within their policies and procedures to not get fingerprints at all. I just don't get why they bothered to do this, but I have half of a theory. And it relates to my theory for why Miscavige doesn't just put Shelly in some little stupid Scientology promotional video to shut everyone up without even saying it's Shelly. Just put her in the background of some stupid video and put it on the YouTube channel. It would have to shut everyone up about where is she, because you're like, well, there she is, so everyone can shut up, right? My theory for why he doesn't do that is that he is so small-minded and petty and vindictive that he doesn't want to feel like Leah Remini forced him to do anything. He's going to do the absolute bare minimum required. I feel like he's literally trolling. Seems like I'm being flippant about the whole thing, and I don't mean it that way.
No, not at all.
He is refusing to let Leah Remini feel like she won by just producing some actual proof of life. And so I feel like, and again, this is just my feelings on the matter. Everyone can have different opinions on this. I feel like and also I do genuinely believe that the LAPD is in Scientology's pocket. So I feel the LAPD contacts Miscavige or the attorneys or whatever, and they go, look, we've got this thing we've got to do. And Miscavige is like, okay, let's do it in a way that's going to still screw with Leah Remini. Let's going to do it in a way that satisfies your but doesn't make Leah Remini happy. I'm literally making this up, but it's how I feel. Like, let's do fingerprints that don't. Let's do them wrong. Let's get them wrong so that everyone will be like, oh my god, look. But the police will technically, because they didn't have to do the fingerprints in the first place, That's what I think is going on. I feel like the LAPD is helping Miscavige screw with Leah Remini. That's how I feel.
I actually like your theory better because Miscavige will cut off his nose to spite his face. Actually, I like your theory better. It's like, let's produce Leah. I'm sorry. Let's produce Shelly or someone who looks like Shelly, and let's screw up the fingerprints so it's inconclusive. Because that's what bothers me, Aaron. The fingerprints. Look, you don't. Can I cuss on your show? Or is that not allowed?
No, you can. Yeah.
Okay, look, 2 senior LAPD detectives, and these were both senior 20-year plus detectives. You don't fuck up fingerprints. You just don't. You bring a digital fingerprint reader. I mean, these guys are like ringers or shills. If you bring an old 1980s ink fingerprints, that's a guaranteed you're going to screw it up. Because to be a detective, you have to know how to fingerprint. You have to know how to collect fingerprints at the scene and how to fingerprint people. That's like Cop 101, right? So I like your idea. Like, here's an example of Miscavige's perversity. That parcel of land in downtown Clearwater that he wants so badly, he's willing to destroy downtown Clearwater to get it. What is an acre of land?
It's 1.4 acres of dirt.
Yeah, and so here's this. I think why your theory is better than mine. I think he didn't want to give Leah the satisfaction of producing Shelly, so it's like he offered $15 million for that parcel of land to the aquarium. Wasn't that $15 million?
He offered $15 million for a $4 million piece of land.
Yeah, so that's more supports your theory that he wasn't going to give Leah or anyone else the damn satisfaction of putting Shelly in a video at the workers' paradise called Gold Base. And so he's going to just screw with this whole thing because, like I said, absent fingerprint evidence, I don't know that I can't say as a private investigator that woman was actually Shelly Miscavige. Because we don't have any scientific evidence in the form of fingerprints. We have the word of 2 cops who may be corrupt. So that's why I want to revisit this. Now, if you just go to the last slide.
All right.
And I just want to show people who don't live in
that's
Southern California. Yeah. So, okay. Now, the distance, this is the distance I put. LAPD Hollywood Division is on the left. So they would have drove down the 10 freeway. The red arrow is where Covina is. It's kind of almost equidistant between Twin Peaks, which is to the right. So Shelly and Jeff Riffer and their security escort would have driven off the mountain because here the San Gabriel Mountains top out at 10,000 feet here in California. It's 3,300 meters. And so they would have to come down off the mountain. So they made it this, and you could take, but I just want to show the readers. It's like an hour, 15 minutes for both parties to drive. And
so they really did meet in the middle there.
Yeah, it is. It's equidistant, and that's where Covina is. So you can see LAPD Hollywood Division. Now,
that torpedoes my that torpedoes my theory from yesterday that they met at a coffee shop where the people might have already known Shelly. I didn't realize this thing was so far away from the CST base in Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, if I were, I live, Karen and I live next door to Hollywood in Los Feliz, so I could drive to the Hollywood Division station in about 10 minutes. Now, an interesting aside, I Google mapped this and I put it walking. It would take 28 hours to walk between the two, but that's just so it's well, I just want to see if you had to hike. Okay, so why, again, I raise the question, why a coffee shop in Covina unless David Miscavige it's a facility owned by a Scientologist or a friend of Riffer's or something where they can control every aspect of it.
Well, Jeff, I mean, could it just be as simple as it's literally halfway between the LAPD and where Shelly lives and works? I mean, it really was. Yes. We'll meet you halfway.
Well, yes and no. Between us, between regular people, yeah, I'd be like, if I'm up in Twin Peaks and you're in Hollywood, I go, Aaron, let's meet in Covina. Okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if David Miscavige offers $15 million for a piece of land that's only worth, what is it, 4 million, you say?
Yeah.
You can take off the slides, by the way.
Okay.
So yeah, Scientology doesn't make sense. Okay. It's often surreal, bizarre, weird, strange, and they do weird things. I'll give you an example. When they were applying for they filed their form 1031, I think it is, with the IRS for their tax exemption in 1993.
Okay.
There's an odd mention in there that one of their future plans in 1991 was to build a series of obelisks all over the world at the principal cities of the world, like Paris, London, LA, New York. And these obelisks were going to have inscribed into them on metal plates the way to happiness. So you're going to have like these hieroglyphic way to happiness obelisks scattered all over the globe.
That was in the IRS.
The church also, yeah, I'll put it up sometime. You know what? We should do a show where I'll go through all the comical, nonsensical stuff. Why I started my satire blog, OT8 is great. Yeah, they were going to actually do that. There's a lot of really weird, funny, quirky stuff that they think of. Well, again, Aaron, you know, you got these in CST, they have these solar powered record players that you're supposed to, after the apocalypse, play lectures of L. Ron Hubbard. You know, his lectures are transcribed on stainless steel records, and you're supposed to play L. Ron Hubbard after the nuclear apocalypse on solar powered record players.
Right. I got to
and
tell
these
you,
are in tight.
I have to tell you, it's hard enough to get 100 Sea Org members together and listen to an LRH 1-hour lecture on source briefing night. And those are people who've dedicated the next billion years to Scientology. I just can't imagine in the apocalypse, everyone's finishing their hunter-gatherer duties for the day. And they're like, gather around the record player for tonight's LRH lecture.
Yeah, and we're going to hear our Hubbard go, now the Thetan has a reactive mind. It's like, and that what's funnier, Aaron, is that L. Ron Hubbard, when he died, he set aside $400 million to preserve his body of work. And what the IRS filing says, and we're getting a little off track here, but this is funny. So they have stainless steel records, you know, and they have titanium vaults. And the Scientology admitted in these filings that the chief risk to the CST vaults were that vandals and looters were going to melt down and destroy all that metal for, you know, utilitarian forms. Well, yeah, that's going to happen. You're damn right. Because of the nuclear apocalypse, I am not going to be listening to LRH. I'm going to melt down that stainless steel to build knives, forks, spears so I can eat. I'm going to melt down the titanium, you know, so I can get my airplanes back up and running. Yeah, you're going to melt down all that stuff. That's the weak link, is that we're not going to keep. Look, the Great Pyramid in Egypt was once faced with beautiful, beautiful limestone, right? So it glistened in the sun.
Yeah, they were actually white, right? They were actually white.
Yeah, it was glistening. And so subsequent generations took all that limestone and repurposed it for their temples and buildings and palaces. So after the apocalypse, going off track here, yeah, you're going to melt down all that stuff in CST's vaults to build real stuff you need, like farming implements, weapons, tools, all that stuff. You're going to melt it down. So that's so L. Ron Hubbard's words won't live on if a madman pushes a button. But getting back to this thing, yeah, the fingerprinting is the weak link, because a detective in a court of law, I allege, and I like a lawyer's opinion, would have to say, no, I can't say with 100% certainty that was Shelly Miscavige. So Aaron, I don't know if they actually had Shelly Miscavige. And you could absolutely be right. David Miscavige could have done this, and, you know, just despite Leah Remini and the rest of us, because we do rational stuff. When have you ever known Scientology do anything rational?
Yeah.
I mean,
I do have one question for you. Actually, first, if you're one of the 1,000 people watching live right now, do us a favor and hit that like button if you haven't already. It actually does help. It
Yeah,
seems with
hit the like button.
with notifications.
You have to like, Darren.
Now, look, you've mentioned that the attorney was it Jeff Riffer?
Yes, Jeff Riffer.
Okay, I have heard from what I've heard discussed on other channels that Jeff Riffer has been working for Scientology for a very long time. Has Jeff Riffer been working for Scientology long enough that he's probably one of the Scientology attorneys who does personally know who Shelly Miscavige is?
I would think so. Yeah, he's trusted. In fact, he's very trusted, and I think he would have. I think he would have been inner circle like Monique Yingling,
right.
Jeff Riffer.
And so,
in fact,
yeah.
Well, let me give you an example of how trusted he is. Remember the story several years ago, wife auditioning for Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Well, like Tom could not get a girlfriend, so he asked. He had to do wife auditioning, and that is so funny because he wanted, a Scientology woman. Well, Vanity Fair ran that article, author Maureen, great article, by the way. And so Jeff Riffer wrote this letter to Graydon Carter, the editor of Vanity Fair, and he was just spitting bullets. And he wrote that David Miscavige is one of the great leaders of our time. His Herculean labors have saved mankind from suffering and misery. And I'm going to post it over on my blog.
So please do. Please do. Let me know when you have that letter posted on your blog, because I will do a video just reading that letter. It's amazing.
Oh, it's a complete ass-kissing letter. I'm sorry, Riffer, but you are a grade A ass kisser. I mean, when you read that thing, it's it's so funny. His Herculean labors have saved man. It's like, oh, spare me, Riffer. Just take your check and get out.
Jeff, here's what's crazy.
Inner circle.
They don't even talk about Scientologists. Don't even talk to each other about Miscavige that way. It's so funny to me that Scientology's attorneys are writing letters like that to the press. But some people have said to me, no attorney would put their law. Let's say Jeff Riffer does personally know who Shelly Miscavige is. No attorney would put their license at risk by claiming, as a professional, that someone who is not Shelly Miscavige is actually Shelly Miscavige. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, let's take the most recent example. Scientology's attorney, Vicky Poboreski, wound up with materials, discovery materials belonging to the LA District Attorney's Office. So she was sanctioned $950, and that's going to be appealed. Going back earlier, Scientology attorney, our Guardian's Office member, Meryl Vanier, back in the day when Mayor Gabe Cazares was the mayor of your city, Clearwater. Well, Meryl Vanier was a lawyer in Florida, and he posed as a non-Scientologist, and he became the lawyer for Mayor Gabe Cazares, and he was giving that information to the Guardian's Office, because Mayor Gabe Cazares was the target of fair game, monstrous fair game. This was discovered, and Meryl Vanier was disbarred. One of my sources, and it's an impeccable source, told me that Scientologist lawyer, Meryl Vanier's fellow Scientologist and lawyer, Greta Van Susteren, I believe it was Greta, or actually, no, it was OJ, one of OJ's lawyers, her husband told Meryl that he'd better leave a scene. It might be good for him to get the hell out, right? So, and then also a Scientology attorney, Earl Cooley, when L. Ron Hubbard died, you remember the L. Ron Hubbard death event David Miscavige staged? Yeah. Where they said that L. Ron Hubbard causally dropped his healthy body to go to Target 2 to do upper level researches. Mm-hmm. Well, Earl Cooley lied. L. Ron Hubbard died after like his third stroke, and he was on the psychiatric tranquilizer Vistaril. So also Scientology attorney Kendrick Moxon, Rick Moxon to his friends, was an unindicted co-conspirator in Operation Snow White. So a lot of Scientology attorneys really pushed the boundaries. So you would think that they wouldn't risk their license, but many of the Merrill Veneer was disbarred. Kendrick Moxon was an unindicted co-conspirator. So I'm not besmirching. I'm not saying that Jeff Riffer would ever do that. Xenu forbid. I'm not saying that about Mr. Riffer at all. But I'm saying other attorneys associated with Scientology have lied, have pushed the envelope, have done all kinds of things. So I don't think Jeffrey Riffer would. But on the other hand, we can't prove in court from the detectives that they were indeed talking to Shelly Miscavige because we don't have the fingerprints. So is it Miscavige perversity that I don't know.
So it's funny though, because one of my theories for, after looking at the map that you provided as to why would they meet in a coffee shop in Covina or West Covina or whatever, is because it literally is halfway between LAPD and the secret Scientology base where Shelly Miscavige is believed to be working. If they were to have produced a fake Shelly Miscavige, it would make the whole coffee shop location not make any sense. That's one way to think about it.
Well, the whole thing doesn't make sense because, as we talked about yesterday, they could have met at a law office, a hotel suite, or somewhere private, and we're supposed to believe that they did ink fingerprints in a coffee shop on Shelly.
Right.
And the thing is,
make any damn sense, no matter which way you slice it.
One of the commenters asked, did they do the fingerprints in the car? Well, I want to make this thing about fingerprints. When you do fingerprints, you need a flat surface, and preferably you want the fingerprint card to be mechanically locked down. You don't want it to wiggle around. So you would have to have like a clipboard in a car, and Shelly's going to go, what, in her SUV? Or like, how are the actual mechanics of field fingerprinting done by the two PIs? If they don't do it in the restaurant, like, does Shelly get in a car with a police car? I mean, this whole thing doesn't make sense. And why they meet in Covina in a coffee shop, that's also a weird thing. Question, Jeff, have you asked? Okay, there's some questions here. I haven't fully developed this yet. So what's
Mitch
the question?
It says, question, Jeff, have you asked Mitch the name of the coffee shop or restaurant where he saw Shelly? Oh, yeah, no, it's a Chipotle. It was a Chipotle, right?
Oh, yeah. You did a video on that yesterday, Aaron. Mitch Brisker, he said that he ran into Shelly down in Redlands. So I will get a hold of Mitch and ask exactly where. But he was down. He just happened to be down there visiting. Redlands is a really nice place, and it's on the map. Can you bring back up that map?
Sure,
Aaron. Okay, now so Redlands would be, well, you can't see it on the map. It's past, keep going past Rancho Cucamonga, San Bernardino, and it's down that way toward Riverside, San Bernardino.
Oh, I see.
It's a beautiful place.
I don't know if anyone can see my cursor jumping around here, but it's
what's it near?
Redlands. It's right. I don't know. Can you see my cursor moving?
No, I can't. But if you see Riverside, if you just go straight over to the left, if you move back northeast, you'll see Redlands.
Yeah, I wish I knew how to zoom in on it. I wish I knew how to zoom in. Oh, here we go. I can zoom in.
Okay, so Redlands is a really nice place. It's a beautiful place, and so she apparently came down from Twin Peaks to Redlands, and Mitch Brisker ran into her in 2010. I enjoy Mitch Brisker's interviews, by the way. He's an interesting guy. So yeah, so a lot of this doesn't add up. I mean, it is halfway, but I don't know. Scientology so often does not make sense.
Yeah.
That So, but I just wanted to get into the actual science of why. I cannot say, and I don't think the detective could say conclusively that was Shelly Miscavige.
Right.
Based on Yasher's reports.
That's right. And by the way, if you're one of the 1,200 people watching live right now, please do us a favor, hit that like button. So Leah tweeted this morning that on Monday, she and Claire Headley met with LAPD Chief Michael Moore and the LA City Attorney, or one of the city attorneys, maybe the city attorney. And and some other higher ups in the LAPD.
Good.
I expect we will learn shortly whether the LAPD is going to redo the check that they did 10 years ago and do it right this time. Do you think they have any grounds or standing to do that at this point?
I do, because again, like I've said, and I'll say it again, and it bears repeating, there's no way, based on the botched fingerprints and the half-assed job the two missing persons detectives did, and it was poor police work. There's no way you can say that for sure, definitively, that was Shelly Miscavige. You cannot do it. They don't have the scientific evidence to prove that it was Shelly Miscavige. You can get an affidavit from Jeffrey Riffer that it was Shelly, but you can't rely on that. You want fingerprints again. Right. So my position is no, because in a court of law, I don't think that would stand up. I mean, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, and that's what I'd like some lawyers to weigh in. Yeah, that's the question. Could Leah refile the missing persons request? She could do it, certainly, but whether the LAPD would act on it, I don't know. Again, you can ask the LAPD to do anything, whether they act on it or not. But Yashar Ali's work was so powerful in reporting on how the LAPD completely messed this up that it does raise questions of corruption, because you don't get fingerprints wrong. I've shown the scientific evidence of how easy it is. 99.95% accuracy on those digital fingerprinting devices used in the field that are Bluetooth. They had them in 2013. Why didn't they use them? That would be my question to Chief Moore.
Yeah. And to be fair, this is why pretty much everyone in the comment section of my videos and in the live chat, why 90% of the people believe Shelly is dead, because they don't believe what I believe, which is that Miscavige is just trolling the shit. Miscavige is just refusing. Like, it's a unique position. It's a unique belief that I have. By the way, my belief is shared by a lot of former Scientologists, that this really is just how petty David Miscavige is. He does not want Leah Remini to feel like she won. And because it would be so simple for Miscavige to just, because really, Miscavige could have Shelly come out and be like, and just talk shit about Leah Remini and say, Leah's been harassing me for 10 years. He could do that. And the fact that it would be so simple for him to do that, and the fact that he doesn't, is why people think Shelly's dead. And I don't know, that's just what it is.
Well, she could be dead. As I said on the show yesterday, the purpose of a missing persons report is to determine whether a person is alive or dead, because when people go missing, sometimes they're dead. And absent the fingerprints, and if that was not Shelly, and I wouldn't put it past Scientology to not produce the real Shelly.
I want to address this comment for a second. She may be dead,
okay,
and David Miscavige is still trolling Leah. So just like some people have said, there's no way an attorney would put their license on the line to present a false Shelly, and people have different schools of thought on that. Someone could also say there's no way the LAPD would put their, I don't know, badges on the line to falsely claim they verified someone's was alive when they didn't. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a great question. Is a couple of things. It's possible that Jeff Riffer had never met Shelly Miscavige. You asked me earlier, would he have met Shelly? I said probably, but it is possible that Jeffrey K. Riffer had never met Shelly Miscavige. So that's very possible that he never met her, and the two detectives have never met her. And it's also possible that they were just incompetent and didn't know how to. And I still can't believe these feel free. So a lot of things are possible. It's also, you do get dirty cops who are willing to look. There's cops that get fired all the time. They even are criminally charged. So it's possible to have dirty cops and dirty lawyers. That's very possible. So
I have seen some journalists report that it's almost impossible to cover up a death certificate, and so Shelly couldn't be dead. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if she's not in the state of California and she went overseas and died, then you don't have to report anything in California.
Hmm.
Look, you don't have to keep the idea. I'm not married to the idea that she's in Twin Peaks at all, just because that's the conventional wisdom. What if she went down to Curacao and died? The other thing is you can buy citizenships in a lot of places like Curacao, and you buy a citizenship in Curacao, then you go to Bonaire and buy a citizenship and change your name, and then you go to Colombia. So Shelly could have died in Colombia. Scientology, and I have some work, serious work on my blog where Scientology got in bed with two South American police generals, one in Colombia, General Mina Bravo, who gave that fake medal to Miscavige in Barbados, and also a police general in Peru, I believe. So Scientology has connections in Colombia, and if Shelly died in Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Belize, all those places, you don't have to report her death to the Social Security Administration in the United States.
So Jeff, let me ask you this question. If so many people have said, look, they weren't okay. I want to reconcile a few things here. One, how the LAPD identified Shelly Miscavige would not hold up in a court of law. That's one datum, right?
Yeah, one supposition, yes.
Right. Two, the second would be they were not required in a welfare check to do fingerprints. Let's just take that as okay. And three, the purpose of a welfare check is to verify that someone is alive. How in the hell can the LAPD do a welfare check and verify someone is alive if they're not required to do fingerprints and didn't do fingerprints? How are they even able to do their job if they're not required to take the steps necessary to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that's Shelly Miscavige? How do these pieces fit together?
I don't know. And this is why we need a new investigation, because again, if Jeff Riffer had never met Shelly Miscavige, if the two detectives had never met her, we don't know and can't say that that's Shelly Miscavige because we don't have the fingerprints. Therefore, we need a new investigation. So the parts Shirley's reporting allows us to break down and show where this doesn't make sense and it needs further investigation. And like I said, again, don't get committed to the idea that she's in Twin Peaks. That's just the conventional wisdom. When you do an investigation, you have to throw out all what is commonly held to be true and think outside the box. So what if she went down to Curacao and then to Belize or somewhere outside of U.S. jurisdiction? Scientology has an org down in Buenos Aires, which is really odd. And so there's a lot of places Scientology could put her outside the United States. So we don't know if she's alive. Aaron, she could have died many years ago.
It's true.
We don't know. We just don't know.
So here is real quick. This Lily says Mitch Brisker mentioned he ran into Shelly at a shopping center. Yeah, but Lily, it was at a restaurant in a shopping center. It was either a Chipotle or something like a Chipotle.
Yeah.
The story I've heard was Chipotle. Yeah. Someone else mentioned Starbucks, but I think it was Chipotle.
But Mitch Brisker reported that, if I recall correctly, is 2010. So that was 3 years before the LAPD interviewed her, supposedly. And it's certainly not in 2020. So that's a 13-year-old sighting of her. And that's, to my knowledge, the last sighting of her.
Right. Okay, question here. Have you checked with Leah to see if she's going to refile with this new information? I haven't asked her that specifically, but I haven't spoken to her since this morning when she tweeted about having met with Chief Moore. So if Leah's willing to discuss or willing to authorize it to be publicly discussed, whether they spoke about the Shelly Miscavige investigation in that meeting, if that's something she's willing to have made public, I'm happy to make that public. But until I find out, until I talk to her about it, I won't know. So let's see. Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty much it for now, probably, right?
I think so, but I just let me get this here. David Miscavige. We're watching you, David Miscavige. We're going to get to the bottom. I'm just doing my glasses. We're going to get to the bottom of this, Aaron. We're going to get to the bottom of this. I just want Miscavige to know. No, it's just sort of like my Hollywood PI look. Anyway, enough of background. You know, this is a very serious matter, but there's questions that get raised, and I think we need to get to the bottom of this. LAPD needs to get to the bottom of this. I think it bears a reinvestigation, and like I said, I'm making out a report to send the U.S. Department of Justice because there's just too many red flags here for me. I think for anybody. Aaron, are you satisfied that Shelly? We don't know whether she's alive or dead. And there's just so many loose ends. Yeah.
Yeah, the LAPD's got to do this properly. So there can be no question about it. Guys, if you're not subscribed to Jeff Augustine's channel, the Scientology Money Project, check it out. He also has a blog called the Scientology Money Project. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And thank you to everyone who watches until the very end. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here.